Okay, now for the fun part. The part that's always fun is the sugary part. So what you see here is all we need. It's the craziest, simplest recipe. Peanut butter fudge. It's in your packet. The recipe is in there. 1 can of vanilla frosting. Don't get the whipped or the cream cheese. Get just plain old regular vanilla frosting. 1 jar, 16 ounce peanut butter. I got creamy. You could actually use crunchy and it's really good, but the recipe originally calls for creamy. Now, this is so hard. Not. Literally, you open them up and you put them in a microwave safe container. Now, some of you may recognize this microwave bowl because we gave them away for free. A few years ago at cooking class at Jackson's Mill, these were donated, and also there was a black one that was a ramen noodle size. Excuse me. And so these are great. So that's what I'm going to use. So you literally just take a spatula, spoon, whatever, dig this out of the can or jar. I like to kind of alternate it. And you're going to put all of this out of both containers into your microwave safe bowl. Just make sure whatever you put this in that you have room to stir. And this one just has enough room. So don't do anything smaller or it just makes your job more difficult. And this is such an easy recipe, there's no point in making it more difficult. I've got about 2/3 of the peanut butter in there. I put some more of the frosting. And one of these rubber spatulas, bowl scrapers, some people call them, really works the best so that you can really get in there and get every bit out. So that one's done. Garbage. And then the peanut butter is a little more difficult because it's more stiff. Make sure you have these at room temperature. If you've already taken the seal off your icing, for example, you know, you don't want to keep this in the refrigerator right before you're going to make fudge. So, one more scoop, we should be able to get it out. Don't hesitate to ask somebody to help you with this if this is difficult for you, because it does take a little bit of dexterity, even for an old lady like me. Alright, so we got it all in there. I'm just going to scrape this off and lay this on my old cutting board. Now, my microwave is about 15 feet from my stove. And rather than move the camera and make you seasick, I'm going to go ahead and stick it in there. We only microwave for 1 minute. Take it out, stir, put it back in, microwave 1 more minute. That's it. So I'm going to go over and pop it in the microwave, come back and talk to you while we're waiting for it to cook a minute. So while we're waiting, I wanted to tell you that you can find versions of this recipe online. You don't have to use peanut butter. You can use chocolate chips. You can use butterscotch chips. You can add nuts to it. It's very good soft fudge. It does harden up nicely in the fridge. It's not the fudge you may have grown up eating, which is the cooked kind that's very sugary. Some people made the kind that was really hard. You almost had to scrape, you know, with your teeth when it was cold to eat it. So it's not the old-fashioned fudge, but it's delicious and easy. And it's another thing, if you remember when we did scotcheroos last year, I talked about how it'd be nice to make those and cut them in squares and put them in a little box, tie a bow on it, and it'd be a really nice little gift to give to like your neighbor for Christmas or family. And this fudge is basically the same kind of thing. It's not expensive. You can find the icing at the dollar store, Dollar Tree. Same with the peanut butter, except it's in a smaller jar there. So you may need to go to a regular grocery store to get a bigger jar. But there's different things you can do with it. And our time's up. Hang on. Now I want to show you, it's interesting. The icing, if you see, is kind of liquidy. It gets hot before the peanut butter does. And when you first stir, I don't think I can make this where you can see it. When you first stir it, after the first cooking, that icing is real liquidy and the peanut butter still is kind of clumpy because it hasn't gotten very warm yet. So when you first start, you kind of have to, and I'll try to show you, you kind of have to like stir, pull up through, stir, and you want to stir kind of around the edges, back through the peanut butter. You don't need to mix it perfectly. In the end, we want to make sure that all we see is peanut butter color and the white's gone. But at this stage, the peanut butter is just getting melty. And if you see, we're getting a little more tan instead of white. So I don't get too concerned about it. I just try to get it mixed up fairly well. Back in the microwave for a minute. Hang on. So it's really versatile. It's coming up here soon in the next, about a month from now, when it gets close to holiday shopping time. Not necessarily holiday time yet, but holiday shopping time. There's going to be sales on things like chocolate chips and butterscotch chips and peanut butter chips, and even sometimes the icing goes on sale. So keep an eye out if you think you would like to do these fudges to give as gifts, and you can maybe find some of these things on sale even, and you can make these ahead. I don't see any problem with freezing them. You could freeze them in, you know, a nice flat Tupperware type container and put them in the freezer and let them thaw in your fridge, and, you know, bring it out for a party, give some to your neighbors or your family, whatever. Super simple. So hang on, we're almost done, and I'm going to show you how you end this and what it looks like, because I made a pan ahead. Alright, so now looks pretty soupy. See? So this icing part has gotten warmer. The peanut butter has now gotten nice and melty and is all mixing in. And I try to stir this enough that I don't see white streaks from the icing anymore. That pretty much the whole thing is evenly tan, like a light peanut butter color, meaning that everything has mixed together really nicely. And if you can see that, that's what's happened. Okay, so here's the really hard part. I have I think this is a 9-inch square pan, 8 or 9 inch works, and I just sprayed it lightly with some oil. You can also butter that, put some butter on your fingers and just butter it. The whole idea is that you want this, once it's chilled, to be able to come out of the pan easy, okay? So you need to do something to the pan to grease it. Then, all we're going to do, pour this in this pan. That's it. So, can you see? I'm going to do this up high and be really careful so you can see. And I'm just going to scrape out as much as I can out of my microwave safe bowl. Oh, it smells so good. Now the bottom of this is a little hot, so you want to be careful depending on what kind of container you use to cook it in. Now the recipe says to smooth out the top. But honestly, I found that all I have to do is wiggle this pan, and it really, if you can see, it kind of smooths out on its own. You can even drop it a couple times, like on a cutting board or whatever. That helps bring bubbles up. That works really good, like when you're doing a cake mix too, and you pour it in the pan. If you pop it a few times, just whack it, whatever, it levels it out and it helps take the bubbles out. Now all I have to do is stick this in the refrigerator and let it chill. We're good to go. One thing though, if you have a refrigerator with glass shelves, make sure you put a pot holder or something on the shelf before you put the warm fudge pan in there. You don't want to crack your shelf, okay? So anyway, I think I'm about taking up all my time. There's your fudge. It is delicious. It smells wonderful. What a nice treat. My granddaughter is very happy because we now have 2 pans of fudge in the house. So I'm sure it's not going to last long. But there it is. Please try this. If you don't make any other recipe off the recipe booklet, give this a shot just for fun to make yourself and whoever else is around a treat. So there it is. There's our cooking class pandemic chapter 2, and I hope everybody enjoyed it and found something that they would like to try. That's the whole idea. So I've enjoyed doing this for you, and I wish we were together, but we will be eventually. See you later, guys.